Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Sir Dennis.
Good afternoon, Sir Dennis.
Good
Good afternoon,
afternoon, Sir Dennis.
Dennis.
Everyone, once again, I am so happy to meet you once again this afternoon. No, to have another session for our day one activity. But before we move into the uh, actual presentation of the discussion, let us first have a temperature check. So in this activity, you are going to choose from which zone are you. So today, I feel I am in blank zone. So I have prepared a poll in the activity. So please click the poll and then please give your answer. So there are four choices. We have blue zone. If you slouch and sigh, yawn with eyes half closed, move slowly if ever you are in the green zone. If I sit up straight, I see and hear everything clearly. I smile and respond politely. For yellow zone, we have I squirm and fidget in my seat. I cannot pay attention. I frown and seldom talk. And lastly, we have the red zone, which I hope will be not a choice from any of you. I glare and my eyebrows are furrowed. I scream or yell and I stamp angrily. So I am going to give you 1 minute to answer or to have your choice among the zones. All right. Minute is done, and so far, out of 49 participants in our session this afternoon, there are only 12 votes, no? But so far, out from the 13 votes already, 9 of you said that you are in the green zone, which means that you are much ready for today's or for this session, no? For the discussion.
Sir, where is the link?
All right. So, hi, Doc Floor. Please click the activities on the left, I mean, on the right bottom part of the Google Meet in order to give your answer. So, yes. There with the icons, triangle, square, and circle, please click that and then proceed to polls. And I am also going to turn on the Q&A if ever you have questions along the discussion part. And all right, so there are only 20 votes, no? So that's less than half of our participants. All right, but it goes to show that out from those who voted, there are at least 80% of our participants who said that they are in the green zone, and that is actually positive, no? So I believe without further ado, I am now going to proceed to my next slide, and this would require you to join me in the Slido activity. Slido activity. So please can use your, or you can scan the QR code to automatically proceed to the link, or you can join through slido.com and then join using the code 62782. All right. And why I am asking you to join in this Slido activity, because there will be set of items, or there are 5 items that you will answer. So we are going to conduct a Likert scale activity where you are going to choose if you could do these activities always, often, sometimes, rarely, or never. To confirm if you have joined our Slido activity, please click the raise hand button. So we have, all right. Okay, let's wait, no? That the number of the participants will increase, no? At least meet more than half of our, or at least we will, if we will be able to all participate in this activity. However, if the accessibility is quite difficult on your side, you can make use of the Google Chat to give your answer, no? Okay.
What shall we write? Question.
You will answer, or you will choose you will choose one of the 5 choices, Doc, and it will be presented once most of you are able to join the activity. But I believe that you are all ready to answer, so we are now going to start with our first statement. All right. So this is our first statement. I provide timely feedback. I provide timely feedback. Do you do that always, often, sometimes, rarely, or never? All right, so far, 65% of the participants um, responded often, and then 26 said sometimes, and 11% said always. All right, so let's proceed to the next statement. The next statement says, I establish group goals. Do you establish group goals? Or did you establish group goals, most especially in the first semester? All right. So out of 23 participants in the Slido activity, we have 35% who said that they do this often, and then 30% who said always, 30% also for sometimes. And there's also 3% who said never. All right, so let's try to move into our third question, statement. We have, I value intellectual divergence. Do you value intellectual divergence? Like, do you accept variety of answers or insights from our students? Do you do that? So we have 85% who said always, 83, and then 17 or 15% who said often. And let's move to our next statement. We have, I ask powerful questions to reflect on a deeper level. Do you do this always, sometimes, rarely, often, or never? And to what sort are the questions powerful, no? We have 61% who said often, 29% who said sometimes, 7 for always, and 3% for rarely. Okay. And the last item is I give examples that relate to their personal experiences. Again, I give examples that relate to their personal experiences. "50% of the respondents said always, 33% said often, 13 sometimes, and then 3% rarely. All right. So thank you, participants, for your responses. No, I am really happy that you are very honest in terms of giving these experiences into your teaching learning process. But I would like to ask you, participants, what are your observations on the following statements presented? Like, what is something common to them? You can use the chat box to give your answer, or if you wish to answer, you can click the raise hand button. What are your observations? For example, I give examples that relate to their personal experiences. So what statements are these? Engagement on students' learning during TOWA, according to Ms. Tarmay Bores. All right. And I agree, no? So these are some engagement activities that would allow us to interact with our students, most especially during TOWA. All right. So those statements, no, are some of the tips actually that can be applied to increase student engagement in the online platform or in online classes. So to give us more of those tips, this afternoon we are going to discuss, or we are going to learn pedagogy in teaching and or approaches in a learner-centered classroom. So I am Mr. Dennis E. Halalon, your facilitator in this parallel session 2 event under the STEM strand. So it means that the activities that we are going, or the tips that we are going to mention, will increase the student-learner interaction in the online setting. And to guide us with our session this afternoon, we are going to discuss or realize the following objectives. Okay. Can I ask Miss Eva to read the objectives?
Yes, sir. The objectives: first, demonstrate the use of the pedagogy in teaching and our approaches in a learner-centered classroom. Second, we learn the pedagogies of teaching and the various approaches of a learner-centered classroom and create avenues for collaboration in order to improve teaching learning experience.
All right, thank you, Miss Eva Don. So to reiterate, you are going to demonstrate some of the pedagogies that we are going to share, that we are going to discuss in today's session. And we are going to relearn some of those pedagogies, and of course, create avenues for collaboration. So with your cooperation and participation, we will be able to realize all of these objectives. And for this discussion, we are going to focus on three pedagogy in teaching and or approaches in the learner-centered classroom. We have getting to know, we have collaboration, and lastly, is the reflection. All right, which I believe some of you are so familiar with or you have been using into your discussion. So we are going to start with this question. What can you associate with the word pedagogy? Okay, you may use the chat box to give your answer. Okay, we have teaching strategy. Very good. What else? All right. Can we ask Ms. Leonila Dolino, what do you mean by pedagogy?
Good afternoon, everyone. Um, the pedagogy, I think it means teaching strategies, approaches, um, and methods. So I think pedagogy is a more general term for all the methods, strategies, and techniques. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Miss Leonila. Yes, Doc
Sir
Flor.
Acono is raising his hand.
Thank you, Doc Flor. Yes, Sir John Michael. According to John Michael, it's art of teaching. Wow. From Miss Aniver, teaching methods. From Sir Ian, technique in teaching. From Miss Star, teaching strategy. From Sir Christopher, learning experience and method. All right, so thank you for your responses. According to Yadav, pedagogy defines the methods adapted for conducting teaching learning sessions using various strategies and approaches adapted by teachers to ensure the fulfillment of the objective. No? So your choice of teaching method depends on what fits you, no? Which you are comfortable with. It also fits in terms of your educational philosophy, classroom demographic, subject areas, and the school mission statement. No? So here we are divided into 4 breakout rooms, and we are in the STEM strand. And so, of course, our methods depends on the subject area or matter that we are going to discuss. But of course, the best teaching method, or I mean material, should be the teacher. And also, of course, why we do have pedagogy in teaching, or why do we apply these methods or strategies? It's because we want to ensure the fulfillment of our learning objectives or the learning competencies. And in the process, there are 2 entities involved. We have the teacher, we as the teacher, and the students, no? And pedagogy acts as a bridge of communication between the two. So this is also one of the common, or one of the difficulties that we experience, or one of the difficulties we experienced in the past, especially when we started the online class, no? And pedagogies that would apply, or that would involve online activities would bridge the gap, no? And today we are going to learn some of those pedagogies, and we are going to start with the getting to know. So in these pictures, we have 3 items here, 3 pictures, and what are your observations? I believe that these pictures are pictures that are present or available during the pre-pandemic, no, or during face-to-face classes. So I would like you to describe what you see in the pictures. Okay, can I ask, can we have Sir Chris Lloyd Mahinay? Sir Chris, are you there? All right, so let's try to entertain or let's try to read the answers of our participants. We have engaging, collaborative, student-centered approach activity. In all pictures, students are always involved. Interaction among the students. So thank you for your responses, Ms. Chris, Mr. Chris Lloyd, Ms. Leonila, and Ms. Star. We also have the pictures show differentiated activities. And from Sir Miguel, interactive learning. From Sir Ian, classroom activity. So all of your answers are correct. No? So there is nothing wrong about that. And we do these activities because we want to make the students get to know each other. As teachers, this is one way of us getting familiar with the students. And when we are familiar with our students already, we are able to identify every student's strengths and weaknesses. And by that, we are able to address the concerns and needs appropriately. Okay. All right. And so, what are some tips that we can use or utilize when we conduct getting to know you activities? So, the first one is schedule time to interact with your students. So, this tip will build a synchronous interaction like video chat or phone call. And this interaction is key during the first week of a course to familiarize students with how to contact the teacher. And however, continuing the interaction helps keep students engaged and reduces feelings of isolation. Diba? This is actually one of the major concerns that we face when we start or when we have our first ever TOA with our students. Sometimes they would be very hesitant when they join us in the activity. They feel isolated. But we give a lot of activities, various activities, fun and engaging so that they would feel welcome, no? So that by the coming TOAs, they will be more ready and they will be more open when it comes to the discussion. And of course, we can also utilize the consultation time to interact with our students, no? Because not everything will be accommodated during the TOA. We only have 40 minutes, no? So we still have the consultation time so that our students will be able to ask us questions, and in that way, we are able to learn from them. Mm-mm. And the second one is to provide timely feedback. Getting to know students doesn't stop after the first week of the class, no? So you also know your students based on their academic performance and participation in the class. Okay, nga naman ni si Kuan, si Dennis, Ana. So it is much important to respond to students promptly via email, phone, or video. And students feel more engaged when with the course when they receive timely feedback. Actually, the activities that we provide to our students are already one way of giving us feedback to them. But it is more relatable towards the students if they are able to really learn the reason why they have received these kinds of feedback through email, phone, and video. And I believe you have been using this, like you have been using your Canvas inbox, your phone, your cellular phones to contact with the parents, which I also do, no? Especially in the second quarter, I tried to communicate to the parents and tell them that their child can still submit or pass the subject if ever they will be completing the activities. And also video conferencing to make it more private, no? We call the attention of our students, no? At the end of our TOA, we tell them na, okay, please stay first in the meeting, and then we discuss to them what needs to be addressed. And of course, since these are TOWAs, then we need to not record in order for the confidentiality purposes. Okay. Next is check that students are engaged. So be clear about how much time students should spend on the course. No? And the number of activities we provide also determines the engagement of our students. It shouldn't be too many nor too little. This is one of the concerns I would see in my day of some of the students, that they would say, oh my God, daghan kaayo ang mga, mag-storya sila or mag-share sila nga daghan kay mga activities ang ipa-answer ana. So we as teachers, we must try to check if all of our activities are attainable in a certain period of time, no? Because the number of activities that we give to our students doesn't mean that they are engaged. Sometimes the more it is, the less participation they would have, or they would feel tired na because of so many activities that they need to do. If it's too little also, wala po'y challenge, no? Makaingan po sila nga, sayan naman ka nga subject. Ana. So it should be enough numbers, no? And when we say enough, pila ka ha, like in one module, to you, what do you think is the right number of activities that you can give your students so that they master your lesson? Take note that you meet your students during TOWA, you meet them during consultation time, and then they should have time also when they finish their activities. In our case also, we give time allocation to every part of the module. Like for example, in the explore part, we give it like, it should be doable for 5 to 10 minutes. In the engage, okay, so that depends on you, no? And regularly check students' progress to identify students who need support. Keep in touch with parents to help students stay on pace. And this is very relatable in the basic ed department. How about in the tertiary? Do you also contact the parents of your students? Anyone who'd like to share? You can give your answer in the chat box, or you can raise your hand to express or to share to everyone your experiences, if you have. I think there's none, or maybe they are still typing. But again, this experience, the calling of the parents through our phone, usually happens in the basic education unit, no? Because again, siguro ang tertiary, they are more mature enough that they can handle these things out, no? Usually, since I was also part of the teaching in the college unit in the first semester, I also call the students through, or I also make use of the Canvas inbox when I ask them for their submissions. How about the others? I think somebody is trying to open his or her mic to share something. Okay, I think none. Okay, and then next, so especially in the basic ed, it is important to keep in touch with parents because we also get to learn about the students, how they do at home, and how it could affect their performance in school. Next is the development of system of supports. No? So according to a study done by Stanford, it was found that an online asynchronous orientation had no impact on student course outcomes. So why is this like this? So it means that it needs further orientation. It wouldn't be finished in one orientation alone. And what other services do need orientation to ours or to our students? So like for example, we consider our counselors social workers, administrators available to support students throughout the time they are out of school. Yes. So the students must also realize that it's not just the academics, there are also student activities that they need to join into, so that at least after the class they will be able to express themselves through arts maybe, and most especially with the help of our counselors. They are of great help to our students and to teachers also, because they would guide us with what to do and how to solve problems that are related most importantly on the mental health of everybody, right? Yes. And we do this orientation because we wanted to make students holistic. All right. As a parent, according to Sir Christopher, I appreciate the efforts of the teachers in the calling or in calling me to follow up and give feedback about my daughter's performance. And we are also are happy every time that the parents would say, "Salamat jud kay sir ay kay kanang nanawag jud ka namo sir." Ana bitaw, so they feel bitaw nga the students are being cared of and the teachers are worried for their performance also. And lastly, we have to address issues of access and equity. So during the study in 2018, the National Center of Education Statistics reported that 94% of children ages 3 to 18 had a computer at home, but only 61% had internet access at home, which is also happening in our locality, right? Especially in the first in the first week of in the first year of our implementation of this online class. And so in other words, the community need plans and support to provide equitable access to the technology, internet, and supports to make virtual learning a reality. So those are the 5 tips that we can employ and utilize when we get to know our students. Again, the getting to know stage doesn't only happen in the first week, it happens continuously because as we move day by day, we are able to learn more about the performance of the students. And of course, what applications can we utilize in order to get to know with our students? We have the Padlet, the Flipgrid, and the Wakelet. No? So when we say Padlet, so it is a free online tool that is best described as an online notice board. For the Flipgrid, it is an asynchronous video discussion platform where the students respond to a topic posted by the teacher. And Wakelet is a content curation platform where teachers and students can save links, social media posts, videos, and images as items to later organize into private or public collections. So most likely, Wakelet and Padlet are of the same purpose. However, for Flipgrid, it allows our students to share what they learn and to give their insights through giving video discussions. All right, so before we proceed to the next area, let us try to ask this question to one of the science teachers in the department. So, Sir Romeo, the first question is, what learning approaches do you implement to manage or make the getting to know activity an interesting and fun experience? And number 2, what digital apps do you use in these activities?
Hello, good
Sir,
afternoon.
sorry. Request, sir, can you please write the questions in the chat box?
Sure, Doc.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Yes, Sir Romeo.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Sir Dennis. So for the first question, what learning approaches do I implement to manage or make the getting to know more activity an interesting and fun experience? So actually, The approaches I did is that I use some of the digital tools wherein it can generate a random student, wherein once you are called, once you have that one, your name is in on screen, then that's the time you are to share about yourself. I mean, I also usually ask questions to the students, especially at first, katong bago pa mi, like how should the teacher call you? How do you feel about being enrolled in this course, if, for example, in chemistry? And in what way do you learn the lesson the most? And how do you relieve yourself from stress? So those were the things I'm gonna ask the student. And after that, so basically I'm using the digital app na colored wheel. If you're familiar with that, it just will randomly, you just have to click the center, then it will randomly click the name of the student, because I believe that that color wheel is also good in getting to know. It's because in this online class or online meeting, students are somewhat shy to share, but this app will actually pick a name of student randomly, and the student will be obliged to speak. Other students will usually magbalik-balik lang sila, raise silang hand, and we can also give chances to others also. At the same time, I'm using also Jamboard. So in the Jamboard, wherein they can actually make their own tile, they can write their own answer for that certain questions. They can do designs. They can actually post pictures. So that's Sir Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Romeo. So one thing that I can remember with what you said is you are giving all of your students equal opportunity to share, no, so that everybody
Yes, sir.
can learn from them. So thank you, Sir Romeo, for your sharing. All right. How about the others? If you are also using other applications in terms of how you get to know your students, you can also type in your answers in the chat box. Myself, no, I apply also Padlet and Flipgrid in my activities, most especially Flipgrid, because aside from you being able to see your students explaining their answer, you are also able to identify, how creative they are in terms of expressing their answers, right? So those are the applications. I also have tried using Padlet, yes. Padlet is also one way. We can also utilize Padlet with the KWL activity, no? What do I want to know? What do I know? And what do I want to learn? Or what did I learn? All right, so let's try to move into our next area, which is the collaboration. According to Sir John, I maximize Google Meet for group discussion and meetings, sir. That's very good, Sir John Michael. Yes, we utilize the activities, the polls, the Q&A, the breakout rooms, the whiteboard to collaborate with our students. Next is, yes, the breakout rooms. I also use Flipgrid for my discussion. Wow, that's very good, Miss Christine. Next is the collaboration. All right, so in the collaboration, we are able to see, these pictures. It's obvious that students are really interacting with one another. They connect themselves, with each other. They give insights, they use their gadgets in order to connect. But in these pictures, this happens during the face-to-face classes. In our case, in the online setup, we utilize our gadgets to connect with our students. We utilize applications to give our answers, to share our ideas to them. And we are moving into the tips for collaboration. So the first one is establish group goals. So I believe one of you have asked me about what does group goal mean, no? So when we say group goal, so it is an effective collaborative learning experience that involves the establishment of group goals as well as individual accountability. So when we say group goals, so diba, what are your goals? Actually, you can utilize your objective as your goal, or in our case, in the basic ed department, no, so we give our students scaffold activities or performance tasks. So for them to be guided with what they are going to do at the end of the quarter, we give them performance standards or content standards so they know what will be the flow of the discussion. And at the end, what will they be making that will serve as an essential item into the community. So that's group goals, no? And this keeps the group on task and establishes an ambiguous purpose, no? So being open to more than one interpretation. And before beginning an assignment, it is best to define goals and objectives to save time. So as I mentioned a while ago, objectives must be presented, or goals of the subject matter must be presented so that everyone will have an idea of what will be the flow of the discussion. The same with what we are doing right now. So I presented the objectives first. Number 2, we keep groups mid-size. Oh, so small groups of 3 or fewer usually lack enough diversity and may not allow divergent thinking to occur. So, diba, the fewer you are, the less ideas might be circulating in your group. And groups that are too large create freeloading where not all members participate. So when we say freeloading, okay, daghan ba to kayo ni, bahala na sila din, sila mag-work din ha. That's freeloading. No, you do not participate that much because there are people in your group who can facilitate and do the task of your for the group, no? So that's freeloading, and we wanted to avoid that one. And so the ideal number of members in a group should be between 4 to 5 only. Next is build trust and promote open communication. So successful interpersonal communication must exist in teams. No? Diba, interpersonal, that's one of the, what was that again? One of the, what is the group where the interpersonal skill or intelligence is being present to? Diba? We have interpersonal, intrapersonal, we have kinesthetic. What are those? Okay, so they belong into, sa ganito gani, the multiple intelligences. All right. So this will build trust to one another. And we deal with emotional issues that arise immediately and any interpersonal problems before moving on. Ano yun na siya dapat, before ta mag-move into the next step, before ta move on, we need to address first the concern. And I know you are familiar with that because this happens even not just in school, but in the personal setup. Next is assignments should encourage team members to explain concepts thoroughly to each other. And studies found that students who provide and receive intricate explanations gain most from the collaborative learning. They learn best with collaboration. And so, open communication is key. Next is use real-world problems. Experts suggest that project-based learning using open-ended questions can be very engaging. Projects-based. So at the end of the activity, you are supposed to come up with a project. So rather than spending a lot of time designing an artificial scenario, use inspiration from everyday problems. Real-world problems can be used to facilitate project-based learning and often have the right scope for collaborative learning. Real world problems. That's why in our performance task, uh, we we ask our students to be astronauts. We ask our students to be health workers and ask them what steps can we do in order to mitigate the COVID-19 and in our locality, something like that. Or we ask our students to be speakers so that they will be able to communicate wisely in front of everybody. No? So it depends on the subject areas also. And this will help our students be prepared so that when the time will come, when they will do these activities on their own in the future, I believe they are more ready to face the crowd. Number 5 is value diversity or intellectual divergence. So collaborative learning relies on some buy-in, where students need to respect and appreciate each other's viewpoints for it to work. So every student in the group has its own idea. And so we or the students must meet somewhere in between, no? They must meet into a common idea in order for them to value divergence. For instance, class discussions can emphasize the need of different perspectives. So in my perspective, this is my experience like that. Oh, do you agree? Okay, Yunila, do you agree to the idea of your classmate that this is the perspective? So also like that, no? Or do you disagree? And what suggestions can you give to your group? No? Something like that. And this create a classroom environment that encourages independent thinking. And so teach the students the value of multiplicity in thought. No? Pwede po din na siya sa thought, mag-multiply. No? Multiplicity in thought. All right. And by definition, learning is social in nature. Using different mediums, whether it will be looks, discussions, technology, or projects, we study and develop new ideas. We impart ideas and share perspectives with others. And collaboration is a learned process. If managed correctly, it is a powerful tool that can allow educators to tap into new ideas and information. Diba? Especially in the new era, karon, before dapat bright ang student, dapat academically kuan jud kay siya kanang he or she has the mastery of like this and that. But this time, it's not just about the intellect, but also the creativity. And because innovation also, no, if a student is innovative and creative, then he will be able, or he or she will be able to give or provide something to the group. And those are the tips for collaborative activities. We move to these applications that we can utilize to promote collaboration. First is Ziteboard. Ziteboard is an online whiteboard app that enables the teachers and students to easily sketch or collaborate with others on a shared whiteboard. So what you will see there is a whiteboard, and everyone, once they have the link, they will be able to give their answers right away. Next is Jamboard, which is somewhat like the same with Ziteboard. It's a digital whiteboard that lets you collaborate in real time using either Jamboard device, web browser, or mobile app. And next, we have Google Docs. It is an online word processor that lets you create and format documents and work with other people. So actually, all the applications in Google, like the Google Docs, the spreadsheet, the slides, the Jamboard, these allow students to collaborate with one another. So those are some of the apps I mentioned. Let us try to ask another member from the science department to tell us about his experiences. So Sir Jubilio will be answering the following questions. What learning approaches do you implement to manage or make the collaboration activity fun and engaging experience? And number two, what digital apps do you use in the activity? So, Sir Jubilio, are you around?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So, uh, in order for my class to be interactive, in order for me to implement collaboration to make it fun and more engaging in experience, so I have to use different different digital apps, like for example, the Jamboard and the Google Docs. So these apps, I already use this one in my classes in the first, second, and third quarters. So these apps help me to make my students learn and more interactive in my class. Now, with the use of these apps, we know for the fact that in an online class, these apps are the factors that will really help us. Like for example, the Jamboard. The Jamboard, all students, if they have the access, like what Sir Dennis said earlier, if they have the link, anyone can access. Everyone is given a chance to give or to supply what they want to share in the class. And also the Google Docs, I guess everyone is familiar with the Google Docs. So everyone also can access that one. And I would like to share also about Whiteboard. This is very important, especially if we want to share, if we want to make our learners, they can learn easily. Like for example, your topic is, there is a need to calculate something in laws of motion. So if you want to ask the students to supply, like for example, in an face-to-face classes, di ba? We ask the students, we will provide them a problem. So the problem, you can ask them what are the given values. Each one of them can supply. So it is not just the teacher who will provide the given values, but you can ask the students to answer it. And also, the students can answer it using the Whiteboard. So this will really help a lot, especially for us science teachers. We cannot deny the fact that there are calculations, especially in the physics part. So it will really help. Now, there is really interaction between you as a teacher and the students. So murara po siya, it's like a face-to-face but online in nature, because students can there is really interaction between the student and the teacher. Also, these apps, during the implementation, there are guidelines that we have to follow. Okay, when we introduce something, we want to share, when we discuss to our students, we have to begin with an end in mind. So we have to begin with the goal, so that the students, all of us, all learners, are in the same direction. Okay, so that's the thing that I have to consider for myself when when I teach to my students. I have to begin with an end in mind so that everyone are in the same direction and we can attain or we can achieve our goals together. Also, since we are talking about collaboration, there is a need for us to consider the number of students to be part of the group. Because according to Sir Dennis earlier, he said that if fewer number of students is part of that group, there will be less interaction. So less diverse. It's not really diverse. But if there are more students part in that group, uh, not all of them can share. So there are other students. I have experienced that one. there are other students na they will not help. So magtanga lang sila dito, then they will not cooperate. So the best thing that we have to do is to keep or to have an appropriate group member. The members of the group we have to consider for that one. And also, there is a need to build trust with one another. That is to make everything run smoothly. So they have to build a trust within one another to build a strong relationship. Also, it will be more realistic if the activities that we can provide to them are the real world problems. Like for example, what Sir Dennis has shared earlier, he talked about the COVID. Okay, so for science, we can really kasi tawagan na, we can really show nga there are really parts about COVID that can be explained through science. So we can give that one to our students. So that's it. That's the thing that I want to share. Also, I would like to add about pet simulation. I have used that one in my classes. Like for example, if I ask my students to give the relationship of something, Ohm's law, like for example, I ask my students to give the relationship between the current and the resistance and the current and the voltage. So since science subjects, specifically physics, needs experiment, but we cannot do it face to face. But we can have online experiment, and pet simulation can provide that one to us. So it will really help. It really the application itself helps me to manage or to make my students learn more, and they can understand what is really the relationship between those concepts. Okay, that's it. Those are the things that I want to share. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sir Jubilio, for um, your answers and experiences. No? So, kana palang imuhang gatag nga answer, sir, daghan na jud kaayo tag makuha ng mga applications that we can use to make the discussion interactive. All right. And also, please make it sure, since we give our students the access to these activities, please remind your students to be mindful with what they are writing or what are their inputs in these activities, diba? So it should be still related to the subject. Okay, dili mag-joke ang mga students, like that. So these are reminders that we can give to our students. And then, na po yung mga problems where, oh my God, sir, na-delete ang kuan, na-delete ni student, ana ang kanang akong answer. So, unang students give this collaboration also gives the students the kind of responsibility. Dapat mindful sila with what they are doing because it might affect the whole class or the whole group's work. All right. So thank you. No, the same with Miss Tina. She has been using Yearpod. That's very good also, Miss Tina. No, because that also gives interaction to our students, giving real-time answers from the students. From Sir Tope, establishing group goals allows students to be involved in setting the goals, encourage students to have ownership of the goals. Begin with an end in mind. It will guide both the teacher and the students in achieving the expected learning outcomes or standards. Wow, very good, Sir Tope. Thank you for your answers. And thank you also, Sir Jobilio, for the sharing. Okay, let's proceed to the last area. And this area is sometimes being neglected na because, wala na ko yung time, okay, TOA end na. Diba? Usually, this is the problem. And so, it is a must that we include this area in the teaching learning process, which is the reflection part. So what are the tips that we can get or that we can utilize to increase student participation in this reflection activity? The first one is to ask powerful questions to reflect on a deeper level. Okay, number one, so in order to attain or to ask powerful questions, in what way can we do this? So we introduce the essential learning or the essential questions, especially at the beginning of the discussion, diba? In our module in the basic ed department, so we have a certain part in our module that tells essential questions. At the end of the quarter, what essential questions do we ask our students so that at the end of the quarter, they will be able to provide essential understanding? No? So our examination becomes open-ended. So we give CER activities. We ask our students to give the claim, the evidence, and the reasoning so that they will be, or we will be able to measure how much they have learned and what these topics or how these topics relate to our discussion. No? Next is to give HATS questions. We provide higher order thinking questions, no? Like the asking of the how, the asking of the why questions. And we give questions that would touch and target the affective domain or the emotional aspect of our students. Well, yun na siya maigo. I also had these experiences with my teachers in the department. This was in the face-to-face setup when she shared na, I think that was Miss Eva who shared na, sir, nakaiyak yun ang bata, sir, kaya akong nag-show ko og video. And then from that video, they were able to give their analysis. Nakaiyak, kaya nakarelate sila. Take note, the topic is loss of motion. And how is that student able to cry? So naagyaday tayo mga, this would allow the teachers to be creative, no? Naigo gid ang kasing-kasing sa mga estudyante. Next is number 2, employ video, song, and poem analysis. So as what I have said a while ago, this is something that will teach them the values or the value integration. We provide videos and then we give guide questions that will relate to the values integration. All right, and then number 3, and I believe also, diba, in number 2, you are giving this to your students. Do you give this to your students? You can click the raise hand button if you practice this one. The giving of videos, poem, or song for the analysis. Next is the choose values to integrate from LGP or the learning guiding principles. No? So aside from the LGP, we can also integrate in our activity the institutional core values, no? Because that's what Brother Gigi would always tell us, to always integrate the institutional core values, because we wanted our students to graduate the following core values. That's what we want from them. All right. So if you don't know the LGP, what's the naman ng LGP, sir? O sige, let me read. Let me copy also these LGP so that you will be able to know and be familiar with the following. So we have challenged the learners to realize their full potential by promoting critical and creative thinking. Encourage synergy, collaboration, and dialogue in an environment that is hospitable and laden with mutual respect. Compel learners translate their knowledge into actual practice for the betterment of society. Prepare learners for responsible participation in the world of work, family, community, wider society, and local church. And bring Christian perspectives and values to bear on human knowledge and culture. So with the help of LGPs, diba, if you can read in the chat box, these LGPs will guide our students how to be better individuals or citizens in the society and how they can function in the society. Because all of us have our roles and responsibility, and we should be responsible enough to do our tasks. Next is by the giving of examples that relate to their personal experiences. Well, we always ask them, based on the video presented, what experiences did you remember out from this video? Ana, no? Because always remember that when we ask the students the personal experiences, it is a better way of them remembering the lessons. Kani di ay kuan di ay, kani di ay projectile motion di ay kay kanang magamit di ay siya when we play the ball games, and then ay sakto gid ay no, kanang life is like a cycle. We sometimes would go up and then sometimes would go down. So there are things that we can relate on. And number 5 is to promote sense of empowerment and inner fulfillment. And in what way do we promote this empowerment? By delegating the tasks, we ask our students to lead and to facilitate. Because these students are very creative enough already to lead and facilitate certain tasks. By also giving them praises with what the good deeds that they are doing, no? So, wow, Christopher or Jubilio, very good because you are doing these experiences at home, no? So after your class, you also do these things at home, ana. So we give them the praises para they would feel also, lagi appreciate ko ni sir. Ana na siya. So, mo na ang teaching, dili na gina siya ingon nga content. Dapat ma-target mo na to ang kasing-kasing because as mentioned, di ba, we teach minds, we touch hearts, and we transform the lives of our students. And lastly, we give sense of fulfillment by giving them both extrinsic and most especially the intrinsic motivation. So those are the 5 tips for reflection. And these are also the applications that we can use to integrate reflection activities. We have the peer deck. It is an interactive presentation tool used to actively engage students in individual and social learning. Mentimeter, it's an online polling tool which can add an interactive element to a lecture, presentation, or recorded session. And lastly, Slido activity. It is an easy-to-use Q&A and polling platform to live remote meetings and online activities. All right, so these are the 3 reflection activities. And this time, we are going to ask another member from the department to share her experiences. And these are the questions. What learning approaches do you implement to manage or make the reflection activity a relatable and engaging experience? And what digital apps do you use in the activity? Miss Eva.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. With regard to the question, sir, I use reflective and inquiry-based approach in order to make my reflection activity meaningful and interactive. Uh, am I audible, sir? Can you hear me?
Yes, Miss Eva.
So, things have been so hard for me since we have shifted to the online platform because sometimes students do not even turn their camera on and you have to repeat your instructions to encourage them to turn it on, and it's something that I find it very difficult to build connection with. Kay, for me, if we build connections with our students, especially when it comes to values, when it comes to um, deeper or relevance of the topic to another level without it. I think it's very good important to see them somehow or to hear them speaking. However, due to these limitations, I always try. It's one thing that I do, sir. I just always try to engage my students in constructing meaning, at the same time communicating to them the relevance of the subject matter to their lives and to the lives of the others as well. And then I also try to build real world connections through questions, um, to somehow let them explore um, or stimulate their curiosity or relate the lesson to another level, especially that scientific concepts are just behind them in their physical activities and the natural phenomena that they can see. Slido and Peer Deck are among the applications that I use in order to make my reflections are engaging and interactive, despite the limitations and other things that are not that are already beyond my control. That's also.
All right, thank you, Miss Evadon, for your sharing. No, so it is important to always remember to integrate values integration in our activities. No, values integration, as what I have also learned from my tertiary years, no, that integrating these values do not always happen at the end. We can always integrate activities or reflective activities, um, any part of our discussion. No, if you think that kanang there is something that would click in your mind, okay, I can relate this into the life of the student. Then go ahead. No, do not wait at the end, because sometimes the time would not be enough. No, especially in our time today, it's not that enough. No, supposed to be we have a demonstration activity, and you are asked to have a role play to demonstrate at least one of the tips presented in the session. So supposed to be you will be grouped into 3, but in your number, I actually asked, I was actually thinking that the grouping will be into 6, no? Para po, we will be able to adapt to what I discussed nga, to limit the number of participants in a certain group. And motto time, 10 minutes for the brainstorm and 5 minutes for the presentation. But sadly, we will not be able to do that this time. So siguro next time na lang in our next sessions that will come. And so here we have the summary. So I hope that we are able to attain the number 2 and number 3, to relearn pedagogies of teaching and the various approaches of learner-centered classroom, and to create avenues for collaboration in order to improve teaching learning experiences. And yes, what is your takeaway for this session? And next is the open forum, the Q&A, and that's it. So maybe I can entertain one question.
Sir Dennis, good afternoon. We can still extend up to 5 minutes, Sir Dennis.
All right. Thank you, Miss.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Miss Alex. So let me try to check if you have questions in our Q&A. Okay, what do we mean by group goals? So I hope that I have answered the question, Miss Lisbeth, a while ago, and also with some of the insights coming from the teachers. And I believe there's also a question here. It was Sir Ian. How do I prevent myself from being a boring teacher? No, so kuan yun siya. There are actually people who are innate in them that they are very interactive in their class, and there are also people na not that much, diba? Pero there is something that we can do out from that. We can learn from watching videos, especially on YouTube. We can access videos there, and also we can provide interactive activities, no? And it should be coming from you also. So for as long as, and also the preparation. If you are prepared, then you would not feel anak bitong pressured when you join your TOA, mo na kung, especially kung malate po ka sa TOA, so mura og ma-pressure na ka, so mawala ng imong interaction, so dapat time management should be there, and then you should be ready. And always remember that you are the best learning material that you can provide to your students. So I think that's it. Or do we have any answers coming from our participants? Are those the activities for values integration? All right. So according to Ms. Doc Flor, I believe what she meant for this was the tips. So the tips I presented a while ago are helpful tips in order for the teachers to increase reflective activities towards our students, no? And to always be reminded nga we have the core values, institutional core values, and LGPs that will be our anchor into deciding what activities we can provide to our students, no? And your creativity as well, no? Lagi na siya, creativity and innovative ka in terms of your activities. Like, every time that I will be observing my teachers, makaingon na lang ko nga, lagi no, anong na-integrate to niya? So, there is proper planning, and then, of course, planning, and then preparations towards the teachers. So, if ever you are more prepared, you come prepared to your classes, you manage your time, then you will be more ready to face your students. Ana lang gid na siya. So I think those are the answers I can provide, or if ever you have other answers that you can provide based on your experiences as well, because I believe you may mga experiences that you can share to everyone. No, but so far it's already 3:48 p.m. and we still have 2 more minutes. If you still have any other questions, then we can still cater to one, but if none, then I believe this will be the end of my session. Thank you very much for your participation, for making the chat box very noisy by giving all your insights. No, so I'm so happy to be to have a participants like this. No, and I'm also happy that I hope that you are able to learn and get something out from my discussion. And we still have time in the third and fourth quarter, or in the second semester, to improve our teaching learning